Hello folks, I'm here with the cat and my cup of tea, and I'm ready to do some hobby nightmares. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is right down below. Let's jump right in, shall we? To Scape, and he says, "Hey Northern, hey dude, just call me Scape. I stumbled upon your channel and found the hobby nightmares and your insight on them rather interesting, so I thought I would share a little story about myself." Okay, cool. It was at an online Necromunda campaign, and I had a match against a player who I didn't play against yet. As we know, Necromunda is a horrible, unbalanced game, but quite fun if you view it from a narrative perspective. Regardless of that though, it is still a tactical dice game, and you can still get some enjoyment out of tactical decisions and how they either go terribly wrong or terribly right, depending on the situation. Alright, Necromunda fans in the comment section, is Necromunda this bad? I think I played it once when it first came out, and it was okay, but is Necromunda now that bad? Is it this bad, or are we exaggerating? I don't know. Let's carry on. At the start of the game, we selected a few gangers of our gang ourselves, and the rest were selected randomly. Though each turn, we got some random gangers from our gang as reinforcements. Okay. Here, fate decided to screw me over, and all my random gangers were my weak ones. This sounds like a card game, do you know what I mean? I tried to salvage that situation by playing defensively and hoping for stronger reinforcements, while the strong gangers I selected should try to hold the line. They all didn't go perfectly, since even my reinforcements were the rest of my weak gangers, but at least I got lucky with a few Hail Mary dice rolls. One of these rolls was from a sniper of mine. I sniped my opponent's leader, and despite all odds was able to target him, hitting, wounding, and getting through the save roll. He had 2 attached pets to his leader, which could take the wound though, and he decided to pick pet A. Now it was his activation. He noticed that he couldn't move as much forward with his leader as he wanted, since it would give pet A, since it would leave pet A on the spot. He then told me, and I quote, "Oh, I understood the rules wrong, so the hit actually didn't hit pet A. I want to allocate it to pet B," which is another rule to ignore the wound with a roll, and he rolls the dice. Oh, and see, there it is, the pet ignores it. Alright, honest mistake, I thought. No, what he's done there, he wants to move forward, so he's retroactively moved the wound to another pet so he can move forward. Alright, honest mistake, I thought, since Games Workshop rules can be rather confusing, and his pets have some weird rules anyway, so he carried on. Nothing too special happened until turn 2, where his reinforcements were arriving close to my sniper. He activated that reinforcement, noticed he could do nothing with it, and ended his activation. One activation of mine, and one of him later, and he mentioned, and I quote, "Oh, I forgot. At my last reinforcement, I could have brought 2 more in with some ability that I have, so what actually happened was, 2 more of my guys appeared there too." No, mate. No, we're too far gone now. Sorry. I am a very forgiving player. This is North talking. I'm a very forgiving player, but this would annoy me. This would now annoy me. You know, he's already done something that's pretty bad for me as his opponent, you know, which is good for him, and it's fine. But to then, like, retroactively go back and add more to it, because you realise, nah, man, it's unsporting. You forgot. Move on, you know? I should have drawn a line there and said, "Mate, we are 2 activations after that. It's too late now." Yeah, you should have. It's like 40k. An activation in games like Necromunda, an activation is like a whole turn, you know? So in 40k, what are we supposed to do? A turn or 2 after the fact, we're supposed to go back and allocate victory points or allocate, you know, reinforcements that could have come in? No. It's ridiculous. You forgot. Move on. But instead, I just said that then I want to avoid these 2 activations too and reset the game to the state where his reinforcements would arrive. He seemed a bit on the fence with that, but was okay with it eventually. Well, it's only fair. You know what I mean? It's only fair. Some lucky dice rolls of me later, we got to turn 3, and he activated the reinforcements near my sniper. Luckily, I drew a tactic card to overwatch him, and he was flabbergasted by that. He said, "Wait, Let me check the rules to see if it is actually allowed. And I was giving him that time. Eventually, he decided that I could do the rolls. The Overwatch shot was a big Hail Mary of targeting, hitting, wounding, and going through the save again. It was rather unlikely, but the dice gods favoured me for this roll once more. I hoped that I would win at least some parts of this battle, whilst I lost on the other front lines. Eventually, it was his activation, and he suicide bomb ran one of his units into my sniper, and caused my sniper to be pinned with that. And pinned means you lay on the floor and cannot Overwatch and need to spend an action point to stand up again. This was the moment when he wanted to void his decisions again. And I quote, actually, I didn't want to activate my character you Overwatched. I wanted to use an ability which is part of the activation and wanted to blow my one guy up to stop your sniper. So the Overwatch is void and didn't happen. Dude, if you let this go, I'm going to get really annoyed. So the one Overwatch thing you got off, right? He then very cleverly gets somebody into contact with you to stop you doing it again. Fine. He then retroactively says, actually, no, I wanted to activate him first, so he couldn't have shot in the first place. So that actually didn't happen. You didn't shoot my guy. Dude, fuck this guy. This is so frustrating. Do not play with people like this. That was the moment I just had it good. For the third time, where he screwed up or it didn't go well for him, he decided that it actually just didn't happen. I could even faintly recall that he wanted to shoot with the character I overwatched and not use the ability, but he said that he didn't say that. My sniper was alone against two of his guys, so what is the likelihood that you blow your own unit up for the slim chance to cause my sniper to take some action to stand up again? Yeah, exactly. Exactly, right? There was a very slim chance of you succeeding, and he bet on you not succeeding. He failed, and so he's now saying, well, actually, I want to take that back. No, it's nonsense. That would only make sense if you knew I had the Overwatch card, which can only be used by my sniper if my sniper was not pinned. He was even winning the game quite easily, but still anyways insisted to change things ever so slightly to favour himself. There was also a few other things that were interpreted in the rules in his favour, and some other things here and there. It just showed me that he is not a person who is fun to play with. I understand when you forget a few things, and ask if you can do them a little bit later on. After all, Games Workshop games are never simple, and rules tend to be convoluted. But you should not do it if you gained information from the game which would have affected your decision beforehand. In 40k, if you forget to use an ability in your command phase and want to apply it in your movement phase before any dice were thrown, cool to me, that's fine. You move a unit, and after everything in place you mention you would have preferred to advance, no problem. You forgot to consolidate after the fight phase, since it would have gotten you to a point to capture it, works for me, no issues there whatsoever. As advice for people who tend to forget things in their game, always mention your intent and ask your opponent if he is fine with that. For instance, if you want to deep strike a certain location and mention it to your opponent, then you should be fine to place the models down in the shooting phase. After all, your opponent knows that you plan to do it anyway. Still, that shouldn't give you a free pass to just forget to do things, if forgetting it suits your game plan better. In the end, any kind of wargame should be about playing out an epic battle, where you play together with someone and not against them. Anyhow, Northern, keep the channel up and keep the stories coming. Yeah, so there was one time, oh my god, I was running my store, and I was playing a guy, a lovely Irish guy. Well, I thought he was lovely anyway. He came in with the Space Wolves, right? And during 8th edition, obviously we're doing like the command points and things like that as we're going on through the game. And that actually happens. Like what you said there, he marches Logan Grimnar forwards, right? And he's by some Wolfguard. And he had this really weird ability where he could like give the Wolfguard extra attacks or something. Something weird was going on, right? And he didn't activate it, okay? Until I got in range with my Grey Knight Terminators. Then he said, actually, I forgot to activate my ability there to give my Terminators extra attacks. Can I do that now? And I said no. Right? And he didn't get why. And it was one of those times where somebody's being willfully ignorant. Somebody's being willfully, you know, obstinate. Where I said to him, look, mate, if you are only doing that now because I've moved my Terminators into charge range and you want more attacks, right? My Terminators deep struck there, right? So you had no clue they were coming down. But now you know they're coming down, now you want your extra attacks. No, you're not doing that. Sorry. I caught you out. That's part of the game. Okay? I surprised you with surprise Terminators coming out of Deep Strike and charging. You don't get to just retroactively just do what you want to. It's one of the worst forms of cheating that I really don't like. It's soft cheating. But that's more anger-inducing to me than hard cheating. Hard cheating is like doing fudging your dice rolls and stuff like that. That's easily caught. But soft cheating, there's plausible deniability, and that makes you much more of a dickhead for using it. What a cowardly way to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, do not say to me, please do not say to me, that you're using this and you're using that after the fact because you've got information from the game that makes you want to do those things now. No. You actively chose not to give your Wolfguard or your Wolfguard those abilities, right? Because you didn't know the Terminators were coming down. And now you do. You want to give them that ability. Go fuck yourself. You're not doing that. Right? We'd stopped the game. You didn't want to play anymore. And we didn't play him ever again. But, again, don't like soft cheating. It really is annoying. Ragged says, good day to you, North. And for this, you may call me Ragged. I have done. I was a Games Workshop manager in the 1990s. Hey! The time when I started. When things were far different before the corporate changes. And the very start of which saw me leaving after a few years in the then black top. Games Workshop managers still have black tops. Well, they did when I was a Games Workshop manager. When I was a manager, I wore a black top, a black jumper, and black t-shirt, right? 1 second, I'm going to drink my tea, 1 sec. One thing about the Games Workshop t-shirt, and this is why I always wore my jumper over it, even in the winter, even in the summer, when it's quite warm. Those things really rub your nipples. And as a man, obviously, you don't wear a bra, so there's no getting around it, and you're like, like red raw, it's horrible. So if your t-shirt's allowed to move around your chest, oh my god, it's horrible. It's like a cheese grater on there. So I always used to wear either a vest underneath it, which made me look like a wife beater or something, or I'd have like my jumper over it to hold it in place so it didn't rub anywhere. I didn't want to get rubbed. Anyway, moving on. Enough about my nipples. Another story perhaps for another time. Things were very different back then when after a few months of probation as a sales assistant, I was booted up onto the new and then shiny management program. Oh my god, that thing must have been going for decades. It was great back then. Bear in mind, the internet wasn't really a thing. Almost no other normal stores in your area stocked Games Workshop products, and mail order was literally that. Mail. If people wanted Games Workshop stuff back then they had to make a trip to the local Games Workshop store. Your store had no real competition other than perhaps the next nearest store. You not only ran games, you were positively encouraged to run campaigns both serious and as mad as you liked. I was all over the country and benefited from a number of area managers, but all but one of whom was brilliant, had your back, and were all former managers themselves that had been successful. The best was now the legendary Fred Reed. Even in the smaller store I ran, I had 2 full-timers and 2 key-timers working with me. Okay. This was what we see as the golden age of working for GW. Anybody who's worked for GW will tell you this is the area you wanted to work in. Alright? Later on, when corporate became a thing, when you started getting a lot of middle management between you and the top brass, when you started getting games being siphoned away from stores and the whole company starting to move away from gaming in stores. One of the worst things that happened to 40k in terms of the Games Workshop store experience itself was selling their product in stores that aren't Games Workshop. Because that then gave them an out to say, well, we don't need to sell games in Games Workshop. Now we can make it into like some sort of fucking Apple store. And on the last 10-15 years, they've been on that journey to make Games Workshop stores like an Apple store, where you don't really buy the product in there. You go in, you get your introduction, and they may sell you the starter set, but then you'll go somewhere else to buy the rest. Do you know what I mean? They don't really want you in there. They don't really want you playing games. They definitely don't want you playing games in there. It's a shame. It really is a shame. I do think the Games Workshop should be a mecca, and I think anybody who tells me that Games Workshop gaming shouldn't be in stores because it strangled your store has fucking misunderstood what you should be doing at a Games Workshop store. Okay? Yes, there are ways that gaming in your store can strangle your store. There are ways that can do that. You can turn it into a fucking youth club like I did and fail. right? But I've learned from that experience that is not something that you should do. Absolutely not. You should make gaming in your store work for you, but you shouldn't ban gaming in your store because of one bad experience or one bad factor that can come from it. You're there to spread the hobby. If you're not spreading the hobby by having people play in your store's a fucking failure no matter how much money you earn, in my opinion. Okay. I know we had it easy compared to what it became. Yes, you did, mate. Yes, you did, Ragged. But my hat's off to you, man. You were there and you did it. To give you an example of this, during the release and the year that followed of the original Necromunda, I went over the top on the campaign. There was custom scenery, we had a weekly newsletter that was photocopied out of petty cash, we had scenario competitions, and a packed store where we not only took over the 2 gaming tables, but set 2 more up on the floor as well. Mate, that's amazing. That's amazing. We made chainswords out of rubbish. The gang with the highest rating had its own special place in the figure cabinet each week. Every Saturday, there was a prize for the best painted figure bought that week. Just a white dwarf, or a weapon sprue dug out of the damaged stuff in bits box out back. You know, all the things you just wish you'd been allowed to do. Yeah, dude, you're making me very jealous. Very, very jealous. When I was working at UW, we had to, if something was broken, it went in the bin. Well, that's what we were told to do anyway. It didn't. Like, it went in my bag is where it went, because I wasn't allowed to have it in the store. If somebody came and visited me, and I had broken sprues in the back, they'd be like, why is this here? Why is this rubbish here, right? So I had to get rid of it, and so I became a collector of so many weird armies simply because they would arrive to me damaged. And I'd be like, I can't sell that. And sometimes, right, if you were one of my favourite customers, or I liked you, you know, and I got something, like, random, I'd remember what people had said, like, oh, I wouldn't mind collecting dwarves one day. If I got a damaged dwarf box to resupply my shelves, I'd put it into them saying, look, this one's damaged. I'd show them a picture of it damaged out the box, and then I'd just give it to the guy. I'd be like, there you go. No problem, there you go, man, you know? I know guys who made their rent doing that, right? Thing is, it's very easy to be dishonest with it and start breaking boxes on purpose. You know, very easy to do that. So don't do that. Don't steal. Don't be dishonest. But if you do get a damaged box, I know guys who said, "Hey mate, I know you wanted this box. It's coming to me damaged. I can't sell it from the store. But if you give me 20 quid, you can have it. It's a 35 quid box set. Give me 20 quid cash, you can have it." I know people who did that all the time to pay rent. Why? Because Games Workshop paid so fucking little. After tax, I got paid under £1,000 a month to work for Games Workshop as a manager, as a retail manager. After tax, under £1,000 a month. Okay? In an area of the country where your rent is about 600 quid a month. So now I've got £300 to get to work, to get my food, and to do recreational things. A month. Alright? In the UK, you know how abysmally expensive getting around is when you don't have a car. Right? And good luck affording a car on that paycheck, by the way. So you can exist on the money Games Workshop pays you, but you can't save. And you can't live. You can exist, but you can't live. That's the thing. Right? And good luck doing the hobby that you're selling, by the way. You can't afford it. You can't afford the hobby. You know? Anyway. I cheekily named the big Necromunda villain after one of the 3 big honchos in retail at the time, General Rottweiler. Insert name here. And as the newsletter was meant to be an underground slag rag, he came in for a lot of stick. At one of the twice yearly managers' meetings, an important person collared me about it, pretended to be annoyed, and got the beers in. He had found it all quite flattering. Oh, okay, that's good, that's good. Well, this was the fucking... Oh my god, the amount of greybeards who were used to speak to me about this. This used to be the culture, right? Instead of getting offended, he's admonished you because he needs to, right? But then gives you a cheeky little wink and buys you a beer. Do you know what I mean? That's a company I want to work for, dude. That's cool. That's some cool shit right there. You didn't have to be a suck-up, you just had to hit a target more often than not, and even in the more serious training meetings, a witty or piss-taking answer would go down as well as the correct one, as long as it was funny. There were brown noses, of course, but it wasn't the culture at the time. It wasn't all golden roses by any means, and like anyone who has ever been a Games Workshop manager, there were worrying days and the odd sleepless night. I remember painting it, I'm painting it all the colour wonderful, and it wasn't. But I can only imagine the differences with one of those one-man stores and discount internet sites nowadays. I couldn't do it. Hell, I made targets because of the campaigns and games, no doubt. And not a single one. Okay. So what you're saying is that you made your targets because of the campaigns you were doing, right? A bit higgledy-pickledy the way you wrote that, but you made targets because of what you were selling and what you were doing in the store. I agree. Completely agree. And I'm going to be honest with you, Ragged, and you've got more to say here. A lot more. I'm going to go on in a minute and talk about it. But you would... Don't take this the wrong way, but you would fail as a Games Workshop manager these days. Alright? Not in my estimation. You're a brilliant Games Workshop manager in my estimation. And a lot of people watching, I suspect. But in terms of Games Workshop themselves, you would work for the company for all of like 2 months, and they'd sack you. You wouldn't pass your probation. Yeah. As soon as you cracked one of those jokes at any training meeting, you're done. You're done. You'd be out of there. I've so many stories, but let's not blow them all now. Perhaps another time. If this goes down well, just the one for now from my days as a Games Workshop manager. Yeah, please send them in. Please send them in. I was running a store in a very, very, very well-to-do area at the time. Super posh. Famous public school nearby posh. Oh my god. We were always on the lookout for shoplifting scroats. And back then, we weren't told to just let them be. We actually chased them. One afternoon, one of the friendly local mums that was there, buying little Timmy's surprise, told me that she had just seen a lad put some figures in his pocket. I watched him and saw him do it again. I knew the lad. He was a regular, one of the big school group in their teens. When he was leaving, I asked him if he might have everything, if he might have anything on him that he wanted to take to the till. He went bone white, and instead of just copying to it, made some comment about how important his dad was. Whoa. Whoa, really? Okay. He could have got away with that going, oh yeah, sure. And goes to the till, gives you his stuff and goes, oh no, I've left my wallet at home. Oh well, bye. And you get away with it. Because it's plausible deniability, isn't it? You say, well, yeah, you know, don't do that. I'm just saying that's the way you could have gotten away with it if you wanted to. Anyway. So we call the police, as this was the policy at the time. A bored local Rosa rocks up. You're so old. Rosa. Oh my god. That's how my mate talks. Got a mate John who's like 50 now. He talks like that. Yeah, the Rosa's turned up. Yeah. The Rosa is a name in the UK for an old school name for policeman, if you don't know. A bored local Rosa turns up. The lad turns out his pockets. The parents are called. Furious, allegedly important dad rocks up and drags his son home. The scrote also had a good £30 on him too. More than enough to have paid for the blisters, and about what we got paid each day. Oh my god, that's horrible. That might have been the end of it, had not that lad, now obviously banned, not decided to stand in the door later that week, hurl infantile abuse at us, and told the staff the police weren't interested and that we could all go and fuck ourselves before running off. I'm not exactly proud of what we did, but in the shop at the time were other lads from his school. So I told them that, sadly, there was every chance that the head office would ban their whole school over the theft. This was bullshit, of course. They were upset. Necromunda was important to them. Oh my god. Spirers were out soon, after all. A couple of days later, I was in town on my day off. And who do I see coming the other way? Scrote. Scrote lad with a big, Beano-style black eye. It transpired later on that the other lads at school Didn't like the idea of losing out on Necromunda and Spryers, so had clumped him one. Well, I fessed up to Fred, my then area manager. Fred laughed and told me not to do that sort of thing again. Fair enough, it wasn't like I dumped the scrot or even intended for it to happen, but still. The next day, the head of retail support called me for the story, then laughed, then said I shouldn't do it again. Dude, these guys are fucking based. These guys are awesome, man. I want to work for this company. You made a mistake. You shouldn't have done that. Do you know what I mean? That's going above and beyond petty. You know? Because you knew what you were trying to do. Don't tell me that you didn't know he was going to get smacked in the face. You knew what you were trying to do when you said, listen, sorry boys, but your whole school might be banned because he was stealing things. No, man, you knew what you were doing. And I bet you're listening to this now with a wry smile on your face as you're painting your fucking models. Don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Alright, you knew what you were doing. But it's still funny. 2 hours later... okay, I've already read that bit. Later still, the then head of retail calls up and asks to hear my story. By now, a very polished up story. He just laughed. Soon, the whole of retail knew the story. You didn't have to be you didn't have to be a suck up, but it helped if you had a reputation for being a bit of a funny twat. Cheers, North. It's been decades since I worked for Games Workshop, and like you, I found my way in the end to Merseyside. It's like the Badlands, man. It's where all the old outlaws end up. Cheers, Ragged. I agree. All the old hippie outlaws. All the dudes that you know from your local pub, who like have like grey beards, but are like generally quite... They wear rings on their thumbs. Do you know what I mean? They're like the hairy bikers. You know the hairy bikers? They resemble them. They all end up in Liverpool or on Merseyside somewhere. Anyway, I loved you a long time. I will speak to you very, very, very soon for some more Hobby Nightmares. I'll be back at my own place on Monday because my family situation has finally been resolved, so I'm very happy with that. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And I will see you on Monday. Love you all. Be safe over the weekend, please. Love you all a long time, and I'll see you then. Alright? Bye now.